I was starting to feel better, and then I found myself stopping myself, saying, no, don't get happy. Don't do that to yourself. You know better. And now I'm managing to pull myself back down. I just don't like to get happy because then something comes along to destroy it. So I figure if I am never happy, at least I have the power in the situation. And I'm sure there's volumes and volumes of self-help books that would explain why that's a bad thing. And that's why the conclusion I've reached is that I have to write my own self-help book called It's Over. A 12-step process to finding the Zen flow of life sucking. I think that's what I would write. I think chapter 1, I would want to call chapter 1 Curb Your Enthusiasm. And I would want to say that is the mantra, curb your enthusiasm. I'm so mad that he came up with, by he I mean Larry David, came up with the title of that show, because that's exactly how I live my life. As soon as there's enthusiasm, I go, get your ass back down. Sit down. Sir, sit down. I've been asked very nicely a few times by different people to do the podcast with somebody else. And that is probably a good idea. And there are volumes and volumes of podcasting books that would say, don't do it by yourself. Do it with someone else. You shouldn't be in a room alone with a recording device, putting things out onto the internet that could be found and possibly cause problems. I don't know, for all I know, I fear that if I get depressed enough and I keep putting this out on the internet, I will have the podcast equivalent of the Necronomicon, and someone will find it and unleash hellhounds. Is a hellhound a dead dog that was bad in life? They never explain that, do they? I've never met even a dog that's bad is only bad because it's rabid or, it's something bit it. I've never met a bad dog. Or it's reacting out of instinct. That's not, morally incorrect. There's no dog serial killers that I know of. There's a show. Milo and Otis. Bloodpaw. That's what it would be called. Bloodpaw. And it would be a show. This wouldn't be a Netflix show. This would be a Amazon Prime show. Bloodpaw. And I think they would cast Denise Crosby because she was in Pet Sematary and they liked that kind of Hollywood synchronicity. So she would be in it. She would be the mother, the distressed mother of the child who has the dog. And there has to be a sheriff, a grizzly sheriff, a wise grizzly sheriff who has a hunch. What's going on with the dog. And I think that would have to be James Cromwell. I think James Cromwell would be great. This could be an Emmy for James Cromwell. And I really think the serial killer dog should look like Lassie. It should be Lassie. Because no one would suspect the golden retriever. No one would ever suspect the golden retriever. And the whole first season is there's a basset hound that's wrongfully accused of being the serial killer, and the basset hound has to team up with James Cromwell to find the real serial killer, which turns out to be Lassie. I just gave somebody $1 billion idea, and there you go. I'm throwing it out there. Bloodpaw.
So I guess I am feeling a little better. Again, terrified of that because it won't last. Then again, if I say it won't last, maybe that's why it won't last. I wish I could let things roll off my shoulder. I wish I could not be affected by what people say to me and by what happens. And what I'm describing is enlightenment. Total Zen Buddhist enlightenment. Even then I might be not describing enlightenment, but that's what I wish I could do. I wish I could go through life and not worry. I really wish that. And I think there's two ways to accomplish that. Years and years of mindfulness training or drugs.
Sometimes wonder if the Buddha had had access to the prescription drugs that we have now, would he have gone, you know what, Xanax is close enough? Probably not. Probably not. I don't want to cast aspersions. That's not the right phrase. I don't want to speak ill of the Buddha. In case the Buddha does exist and he can hear me and he's vengeful, which doesn't fall in line with the Buddha. That's more the Old Testament God. That's me projecting the Old Testament God onto another religious deity, which is not fair for either of them. Then again, the Old Testament God could also be Buddha. That might make sense. The Buddha, it was a Buddha in a bad century, or a bad few centuries. Maybe Old Testament God was Buddha, and then Buddha became enlightened, and he became Buddha, and he chilled out a lot more. Maybe Old Testament God was back before Buddha became Buddha, when Old Testament God was still working a 12-hour shift as a office manager in a company that facilitates market research. Maybe that's what was going on. And was just stressed out beyond belief, and his side project was creating the universe and took out some of the anger on the universe. That could be. I could see that happening. I really could see that happening. I wonder if I can monetize this podcast yet. Yes.